European and American companies have subcontracted manufacturing to China, Vietnam, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and so on, because the cost of labor is a lot cheaper there. And likewise, there have been many companies setting up shop offering services to investment banking firms and boutiques, saying, we can do the research for you, we can do the putting together information packages, pitches, and so on and so forth.
Hi guys, today I'm honored to be speaking with Mr. Andrea Mandel Mantelo, partner and CEO at AdviCrop. He's an entrepreneur, financial advisor, and company builder with 25 plus years of experience helping businesses grow, restructure, and expand internationally. Thanks, Andrea, for being with us here.
Hello.
Right. So, Andrea, if you can just throw some lights on your background and how did you actually end up starting into the investment banking industry, and what made you get into this entire vertical?
Well, I discovered about investment banking when I met some people in New York while I was studying at Yale. I met some investment bankers, people who I respected, and the stories they told me about their business led me to develop an interest in it. And I remember that one of my final papers in my fourth year was a paper on the investment banking industry, and in particular the development of the Lazard houses in New York, London, and Paris. So shortly after graduating, I started working in a bank in Italy first. I had to go back to Italy for family reasons. But shortly thereafter, I moved to London to work for a bank which is now JP Morgan Chase, essentially. It's a bank that it was called a chemical bank, and it's the bank that bought those two banks and then adopted their name. Soon after that, I went to work for SBC and SBC Warburg, which then is a bank that bought UBS and is now known as UBS. So I found myself working for banks that each time bought other banks and then adopted their name because it was probably more famous than the ones that they had. But never mind.
Wow.
And then after about 13, 14 years of working for an institution, I felt it was time to perhaps set them on my own. And I established AdviCorp in 1997, so it's almost 30 years ago, with the idea of providing high-quality investment banking services for companies that until then were outside of the major banks' radar screens. Particularly in Italy, where there are not that many very large companies, but where there is an enormous amount of SMEs, which didn't at the time, and in many cases still don't, have the kind of expertise needed to do corporate finance and M&A. And I never looked back. So I've enjoyed doing that. At the same time, a bit later on, I decided that I would also invest in a company to see if I could do what I told many other people to do, mainly restructurings and things like that. And that was a perilous adventure, which got me close to the brink of further bankruptcy. Because I did buy this company out of bankruptcy. But since then, the company has been thriving and developing. And so it's now we're out of the woodwork. We're out of
Fantastic.
the quicksands, and
Oh,
are
wow.
doing quite well.
Fantastic. So, Andrea, you really had a quite interesting journey. I mean, so when you started off AdviCrop in 1997, uh, back then things were very different, right? And now when you see uh, with technology in the picture and at the forefront, right, especially AI, how do you see this entire investment banking industry shape and change? And how do you think it is actually helping and not creating a problem?
Well, when I joined, when I established AdviCorp, it was not long after the spread of the internet.
Right.
When I was at Swiss Bank in 1992, I
Yeah.
remember traveling for business to Israel and seeing that everybody in Israel had an email address on their business cards. Nobody in Europe had one. So the first thing that I did when I came back, I said, I want my email address on my card, and I want an email address, obviously.
Wow.
So that was one thing. So I was obviously keenly interested, and working with certain Israeli companies, I realized how much innovation there was in that country. And so I was always been interested to a certain extent in technology. Sadly, my bank was not yet ready to do much in that country. And it's one of the reasons why I decided to move out, because I felt that I was pushing to do certain things that they weren't really following. So I joined the board of some Israeli companies and followed their development over time. So I felt that that was a very interesting thing. Likewise, the arrival of AI, I think, is something quite revolutionary. I mean, I was right to go on my own, because when I did it, information started becoming more diffuse through the internet, and finding information was becoming easier. Clearly, this has developed in a major way over time. And AI is now replacing a lot of the work that was quite tedious and required a lot of effort by my team. So it's not that one needs to reduce the team thanks to AI, but you can make the team much more efficient thanks to AI. So I would say AI is going to be a major component in our industry. To a certain extent, I think AI will be a challenge for many information platforms,
Right.
because you can use AI to collect information and to collate that information much more easily. And that can replace many information platforms such as Merger Market, because all they're doing is collecting information around the world about M&A and about financings and so on. AI can do that on its own. You can ask, what M&A transactions have been announced, or what is being rumored in the market, and you get stuff similar to what you get in places like Merger Market. So that, I think, is going to be a challenge to information providers and collectors, such as Merger Market or similar platforms. So that's and it's going to help all the analysts get that information at a far lower cost.
True. That makes sense. I think that shift, we are actually seeing that shift. The information collector, database platforms, and AI basically merging together to create a whole new experience for the end users, right?
Another thing I would say is, like in manufacturing, European and American companies have subcontracted manufacturing to China, Vietnam, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and so on, because the cost of labor is a lot cheaper there. And likewise, there have been many companies setting up shop offering services to investment banking firms and boutiques, saying, we can do the research for you, we can do the putting together information packages, pitches, and so on and so forth. Now, just like automation, robotics, and so on may allow the reshoring of a lot of manufacturing in Western countries at comparable, if not better, levels of cost than subcontracting in Asia. Similarly, I think AI can help investment banking teams, call it reshore, a lot of the work that some have subcontracted to Asian providers. So that's a challenge. I think this AI, again, not a challenge for our teams. It's actually a benefit because we know better, particularly if we have to do work in languages which are different from English. We know better our clients in Italy than anybody else. But we need to speed up the process of, producing information, either in pitching clients or in doing research on these clients and competitors and M&A transactions and so on and so forth. And so if before I could be tempted to subcontract this work elsewhere, I actually never did it, but never mind. Now I feel much more confident being able to speed up that process by producing it in-house with the help of AI.
Well, I've actually heard this from a lot of other clients of mine. So basically what took, say, a week to produce the entire document, right, or a thesis, that is taking probably half a day or something like that, more than that, right?
A day.
So a day
back and forth,
yeah.
because clearly, look, AI, I treat AI like a good, solid intern.
Yes. Yes, that's
But
actually
it's
the
not something I trust entirely. Sometimes AI produces information that is not true.
It is just repeating the same thing again and again.
Well, it is. Sorry, just a second.
What is it?
And so you need to check the information and double check
Right.
that the information is correct. AI collects information from the internet, and sometimes that information is wrong.
Right.
So you need to have the experience of being able to judge whether the information you're being provided is realistic or not. And sometimes I catch ChatGPT off, and I say, ChatGPT, I'm terribly sorry, but you're absolutely wrong on this one.
Yeah.
I was amusing myself today looking at a building that was erected in the 1920s or 30s in Rome. It's a particular architecture that was very, very, very strong in the 20 years of fascism in Italy. Beautiful building. And I looked at the building and I said, I think this thing has been added to the building. It was not there originally. So I said, ChatGPT, can you please, can you please tell me whether this building has any additions to it that have been, made later? And it came back saying, no, this is exactly how it was. And I said, can you show me some period pictures of that? And so it sent me some period pictures of the building. And I looked at the building how it is today, and I saw that there was a difference. So I wrote back to ChatGPT and said, ChatGPT, you're wrong. The building is not exactly how it was. It's been modified.
Correct.
So you see, you need to be careful.
Correct. Correct. No, I've actually experienced this upfront with my this thing as well, because you basically need to have that understanding of the subject that you're actually asking ChatGPT to do, so that in case if there is some kind of an error, and then you have put it in a very right way, because it is basically a perfect intern, right? Where you basically are trying to get things done with your experience in it. So,
You can
Andrea,
kick off again.
yes, yes. So, Andrea, what is that one deal that you still remember in your 30 years of career at AdviCrop, right? That probably gave you sleepless nights, and it was like, this is the deal that needs all my attention, right?
Look, there are lots that I remember, but I don't like to dwell too much in the past. I prefer to look forward. And what I would say is that we've tried to innovate. We've tried to bring ideas to our clients. In each case, we try to think out of the box, and I think the lesson is very much your clients think they know best, and often they do, but often they don't. And I think that the key point is that you need to challenge your clients all the time. That is the lesson that I would say is most important for everybody. Simply executing what your client is asking you to do because he thinks that's the only way forward, I think that's not a good approach.
Got it. Got it. And what are you most excited about the next 12 months? I mean, considering all these geopolitical changes that are going on, and there are so many issues going on around us. So what do you think? How do you see the next 12 months evolve in the investment banking industry? Because I just happened to go through a video about the from Goldman Sachs saying that about the IPO advisory as well as M&A transactions. So how do you see that thing shaping?
Look, unfortunately, geopolitical events are things that you cannot control.
Right.
And they can explode in your face anytime. I remember wanting to put together a fund to invest in the Israeli tech market. Okay? I worked on it for a whole year in 1999. Okay? I had investors lined up. I had a supporting bank in Italy that wanted to do it. The objective was to involve various of their clients in investing in technology in Israel. It would have been a great thing to do because it would have enabled Italian companies to bring Israeli technology into Italy and use Italy as a springboard to expand in Europe. And then one day in the year 2000, the second Intifada started, and that caused the Italians to pull back because they felt that the country was too unstable to invest in, which both on the moment from my side and in hindsight from their point of view was completely stupid, because what happened in fact is that valuations went down, so that was a good time to buy, and they would have done great. And since then, Israel is a country which has developed to such a level that it now has a GDP per capita which is above the average European one.
Yes, Israel is exactly. Yeah.
It's a country that's not even 80 years old, and it was a third world country when it was established, and now it's a major powerhouse of technology. In a way, similarly to India, which is only a year older, and which has put a piece of machinery on the moon ahead of its original colonial power.
Correct. True.
Which I think is great.
Yes, indeed.
Great satisfaction. I was very amused by the whole thing.
Yes, and it was actually a very cost-effective solution, though. I mean, the idea was basically to reduce the cost as much as you can, and still achieve by reaching the moon, right? So
but that's what technology does. That's what AI does. It helps reduce the cost, accelerate development, and I'm very happy to witness this whole thing. You know, my father witnessed the development of many technologies, including flying, cars.
Wow.
My father was born in 1901, when there were hardly any phones, telegraph, radio, atom bomb, man on the moon. You know, that's what my father saw, and I'm seeing things from then on. So it's an extremely exciting time to be alive. Medicine has done amazing progress. I would probably be half a cripple if it weren't for medicine. So I'm very happy to experience all that.
Right. And Andrea, I personally saw, I think you yourself are very fond of automobiles, bikes specifically.
I'm sorry?
And I also saw personally, I mean, I think you're also personally very fond of bikes and automobiles. If I'm not
Vintage
wrong.
ones. Yeah, the vintage ones.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
you keep going out on the rides every weekend or something like that, every now and then?
Well, the weather's been absolutely ghastly since the beginning of the year, so we haven't done very much. But I can
Wow.
tell you that I have driven to India.
Have you?
Yeah.
Wow. And how many days did it take? A month?
It took a while. I did it in 2 stages. I started from London, got all the way to the Middle East, and then from the Middle East I went over to India. It was good fun. And then I carried on.
Fantastic. And when was this?
In the 90s.
Wow, that's like almost.
I actually left India on the 15th of August of 97, which is I think a fairly important date.
Yes, yes, it is for us. Yeah. So, Andrea, it's been actually very nice talking to you. So, what is that one piece of advice that you would give to the younger generation who want to get into the investment banking career? Because I see a lot of shift these days. A lot of younger generations are very much inclined to get into investment banking industry. What is that one piece of advice that you would give them?
Stay curious.
Got it. And I think that is something that will actually keep you moving and keep you learning more and adapt to new things every single time, because technology is actually changing things at a much faster rate.
Any day you learn something is a good day.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andrea. I think it was amazing talking to you.